to West Africa Democracy Radio.
Je suis à Dakar, au Sénégal, et j'écoute la WADR 94.9 FM.
West Africa Democracy.
West Africa Democracy Radio.
We are West Africa Democracy Radio.
94.9 FM.
Dakar, Senegal. It's you speaking.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org. WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's May Day in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Here are the top stories. Mali's transitional government shuts down multi-party politics, dissolves all political parties across the country.
Political parties and organizations of a political nature are dissolved throughout the entire national territory.
Ivorian opposition PDCR holds extraordinary congress this Wednesday to elect a new president as Tijan Cham poised to recontest. Nigeria's Benue State, known as food basket of the nation, faces worsening insecurity.
Most of the farmers have deserted ancestral homes, and some are confined to IDP camps where they live and depend on government to feed. And for those who are even courageous to return back to farming in their ancestral homes, are either butchered or attacked on their farms.
And in Togo, political parties and CSOs call for reclassification of ECOWAS heads of state to ECOWAS of people. Details of these and more stories are coming up shortly.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. This edition opens with some political developments, beginning with Mali, where all political parties and organizations of a political nature have been officially dissolved by the military government. The decision follows General Assimi Goita's promulgation of the laws repealing the Charter of Political Parties and the status of the opposition. For several weeks, political figures have continued to denounce the dissolution of their political parties, which they believe constitutes a violation of the Constitution and an attack on multi-party systems. Christopher Atichu has the details in this report.
Following the abrogation of the Charter of Political Parties by the Transitional Parliament, unsurprisingly, the law was promulgated by the Transitional President General Assimi Goita. The government therefore acts on the pure and simple dissolution of political parties. Mamani Nasiri is the minister responsible for political reforms.
Political parties and organizations of a political nature are dissolved throughout the entire national territory.
The Malian transitional government also prohibits meetings and other political activities under penalty of sanctions. Civil servants are called upon to continue their mission without claiming to be part of their political party.
Individuals serving in the political and administrative institutions of the state by virtue of a designation from a political party or political organization may continue their mission without being able to claim their status as representatives of political parties or political organizations.
Meanwhile, the government also plans to develop a new law that will govern the creation of political parties. Political parties continue to contest their dissolution, which they consider illegal. They denounce it as an attack on the multi-party system.
A report from Aliyu Cham in Bamako, voiced by Christopher Atichu. Elsewhere in Cote d'Ivoire, the opposition party PDCR is conducting an extraordinary congress this Wednesday, May 14, to elect a new president following the resignation of Tijan Cham. The Congress is being held at more than 400 locations across the country and in the diaspora, with several delegates. Interested candidates had until 6 p.m. on Tuesday to submit their applications. Interestingly, the resigning party's president, Fanasio Tijan Cham, will recontest in the party's election. According to a party official, this is a strategy to bypass legal proceedings against Tijan Cham. As a reminder, Valeria Yapo, one of the PDCR officials, is contesting his legitimacy as head of the political party. According to the official, the John Cham had a dual nationality when he was elected leader of the PDCR and also registered on the electoral roll in November last year. However, he was removed from the electoral roll by court order. After the internal wranglings within the PDCR, Tijan Cham will still have to resolve the issue of his re-registration on the electoral roll. But still in Côte d'Ivoire, with 5 months to the presidential election, the former prefect of Abidjan, Vincent Tolbi Eri, announces his candidacy. He presents himself as an alternative to the old political class. In a short video widely shared on social media, he calls on young people to rally behind his candidacy and to bring about a break within the norm and a new way of governance. Wearing a suit and tie while sitting behind a desk, Vincent Tolbi Eri said he embodies a new political class and wants to stand out from traditional politicians who are once again in the race for the Ivorian presidency.
Les partis politiques se déchirent.
Political parties are tearing each other apart, seizing power for themselves and their factions. It is urgent today that political life be opened up to all citizens of this country and not reserved for a small cast of professional politicians. Stop being spectators of your own lives and of a national life. With us, with you, be actors in the present and future of our country.
Et de l'avenir de notre pays. Il nous faut apporter une perspective nouvelle et un nouveau.
We need to bring a new perspective and a new mode of management to all areas of our national life in response to national and international challenges and the problems of youth. We need a new governance of our institutions.
Nouvelle de nos institutions.
Vincent Tolbi Eri is the former prefect of Abidjan who has declared his candidacy for the October presidential election in Côte d'Ivoire. Crossing over to Togo, where political parties and civil society organizations have reacted to ongoing debate at the African Public Debate Conference currently taking place in the capital, Lomé. Among the groups voicing their concerns is the Don't Touch My Constitution Front, a coalition of political parties and CSOs opposing the Fifth Republic. According to the movement, the conference fails to address the real concerns of the Togolese population. Imo Edit reports.
While Africa's external debt is being questioned in Lomé, a national civil society is also questioning the Togolese state's debt over the past 2 decades. According to the Don't Touch My Constitution movement, which opposes regime change, the country's public debt has reached over 4 trillion CFA francs. This represents nearly 70% of the country's GDP and raises serious concerns for the country's growth. Nathaniel Olympio is spokesperson for the Don't Touch My Constitution Front.
For 20 years, the Togolese regime has contracted 15,000 billion French francs in debt. Unfortunately, we do not see the counterpart in achievement in the country. In 20 years in Togo, not a single highway has been built, not a single hospital, not a single university. In short, we do not see what the state is doing with the borrowed money in Togo. What are we doing with the debt we incur abroad? That is the real issue.
Additionally, the movement maintains that a debate and in-depth reflection is necessary on the use of funds borrowed by the Togolese state, which are supposed to develop the country. Nathaniel Olympio again says,
Sub-regional or continental organizations to which our countries belong to pay attention to the concerns of the people. In the case of ECOWAS, for example, we demand an ECOWAS of the people because so far it has been an ECOWAS of heads of states. Therefore, it is important that organizations and not merely structured that focuses on relations between states, but that truly care about the well-being of the people, the citizens.
Recall the Lomé Conference on Debt, which ends this Wednesday, aims to adopt the Lomé Declaration on African Debt. This will be the continent's common position on debt governance, which will guide future negotiations and reforms.
Imo added with details of that report about Sylvie Ouedraogo in Lomé.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Taking a trip now to Liberia, the House of Representatives on Tuesday resolved to prolong deadlock by electing a new speaker and the months of uncertainty over the legitimacy of the post. The conflict, which dragged on for over 6 months, began with the unconstitutional removal of former Speaker Fonati Kofa. His replacement, Richard Cohn, was later also deemed to have been unconstitutionally elected following a ruling by the Supreme Court. WADR's Monrovia correspondent Ibrahim Parker has the details.
In the wake of subsequent negotiations following the Supreme Court's recent ruling, Fonati Kofa resigned from his position, clearing the path for a new election. During the voting session on Tuesday, with 69 members present, Richard Cohn, the representative from Mosurado County District 11, emerged victorious as the new Speaker of the House of Representatives. He secured 43 votes against his opponent, Representative Musa Bility from the Minority Caucus, who attained 26 votes. This election establishes Richard Cohn as the constitutionally elected Speaker of the House of Representatives, who has pledged to work collaboratively with all members of the legislative body.
Solemnly swear, support, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the Republic of Liberia, bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic, and I will faithfully, conscientiously, and impartially discharge the duty and function of the office of the Speaker.
Additionally, Representative Ernest Mansa of Nima County District 4, a member of Cohn's bloc, urged the new leadership to embrace inclusivity for the benefit of the citizens.
Appeal to the conscience of our other colleagues to allow this thing pass, and so we move forward. I'm always telling him that we need to unite the House.
For former Speaker Kofa, his primary focus will now be serving his constituents.
And if he appointed me without my acquiescence, I would reject it. As I said, my focus now should be on my district. I think it's time to return to the district and do the work.
As the new Speaker takes office, citizens hope that this transition will foster a more inclusive and effective governance that prioritizes their needs. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Let's take a closer look at the Gambia, where President Adama Barrow is set to address the nation this Wednesday, May 14, amid a surge of public concerns about the sales of assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh, who has been in exile since 2017. The announcement was confirmed Tuesday evening by the Gambia Ministry of Information following an emergency cabinet meeting convened by President Barrow. Sankule Janko completes the story.
Last Thursday, Gambian activists, particularly those affiliated with the Gambians Against Looted Assets Gala movement, took to the streets demanding transparency regarding the sale of former President Yahya Jammeh's assets. The protests intensified following a government crackdown on demonstrators, resulting in several arrests, including key Gala leaders who were detained for organizing a demonstration without police permission. Their detention triggered a wave of spontaneous protests in Banjul, with citizens demanding their immediate release. In response to mounting public pressure, the government released a detailed list of assets sold in Jammeh's name. The document, published by the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, revealed that assets included land, vehicles, heavy machinery, and shares in companies such as GAM Petroleum, 14.32%, and Comium Gambia Limited, a GSM service provider. According to official figures, land sales alone generated $202.75 million, including a high-profile transaction in the upscale Brufut Gardens area worth $41.75 million. However, several observers and critics argue that the reported sale prices are significantly below actual market value, raising further concerns about possible mismanagement or corruption. Amid growing skepticism, President Barrow is expected to address the nation today, Wednesday, while the Gambian National Assembly has also convened an extraordinary session on May 13 and 14, 2025. The session aims to establish a special commission tasked with investigating the asset sales and the coordination under which they were conducted. The commission will be expected to uncover the full truth behind what many Gambians believe could have been an attempted cover-up, especially in light of leaked documents from late April that revealed previously undisclosed transactions.
Sankule Janko fight that report. You are still listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Mali's transitional government shuts down multi-party politics, dissolves all political parties across the country. Ivorian opposition PDC holds extraordinary congress this Wednesday to elect a new president as Tijan Cham poised to recontest. Political parties and CSOs in Togo call for a reclassification of ECOWAS heads of state to ECOWAS of people. Still ahead in the news, Nigeria's Benue state, known as food basket of the nation, faces worsening insecurity. We also have press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR News and on Facebook, WADR English Service. To some security matters, in Nigeria, insecurity continues to pressure systems that have, for several years, served populations guaranteed sustainability and to provide the economic opportunities. These, among others, include economic, educational, health, and social security systems. Benue State, for example, regarded as the food basket of the nation because of its agricultural endowment, presently faces food shortage due to insecurity. WADR's Abdullahi Hassan, who is on a mission to Makodi, the state capital, reports that residents and experts are warning against the advent of a plethora of issues unless urgent actions are taken.
Since its creation in 1976, Benue State, located in the north-central of Nigeria, has retained its position as the food basket of the nation because it feeds the country. Known for its heavy export of farm produce and home of the largest yam market in Africa, Benue is fast losing its status as the security situation worsens. Aman Atimintiti Timothy, a public affairs analyst, explains.
Most of the farmers have deserted ancestral homes, and some are confined to IDP camps where they live and depend on government to feed. And for those who are even courageous to return back to farming in their ancestral homes, are either butchered or attacked on their farms. And then the food security aspect is one issue that government is playing with. In fact, we are already experiencing it. In the past, you could get a plate of fufu here at the rate of 500, 200 in Makodi. But today is not the order of the day. Food is extremely expensive in the food basket of the nation, flowing from the insecurity we are experiencing.
However, food insecurity is not the only concern for residents. Mom Laz, chairperson of Bengonet, a coalition of over 200 NGOs in Benue, reveals a disturbing data that particularly affects young girls.
1,000 girls are trafficked out of Benue annually, and Benue was second to Kano. The data by National Agency for Prohibition of Human Trafficking, NAPTIP. It was alarming. Girls are trafficked from Benue in their droves. There are so many effects. I'm not talking about diseases. I'm not talking about the boom in bed.
Benue, a state with around 6.2 million people, has for decades reported intercommunal and religious conflicts, as well as farmers-herders clashes, and most recently, attacks by armed men. With hundreds of people killed and more than 150,000 others displaced since the start of the year, Mom Laz recommends strengthening cross-border surveillance, improving intelligence sharing, and establishing state police to end insecurity in the region.
Abdullahi Hassan Fait, that report from Makurdi, the capital of Benue State, north-central Nigeria, where he is on a security mission.
This is the Newspaper Review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the Newspaper Review.
The Newspaper Review.
Let's join Sankule Janko this time for a review of the local dailies in the Gambia.
Well, let's get straight to business and start with the Standard newspaper. And the lead story on the Standard newspaper reads, Barrow to explain Jammeh's assets saga today, with a huge photo of President Barrow and former President Yahya Jammeh. That's the lead story on the Standard newspaper. Other stories on the Standard newspaper reads, murderer of Briton gets death sentence. NCCE calls for urgent review of Public Order Act. This other one reads, Bibi Dabo warns economic hardship fueling money politics. CDS tells soldiers not to allow critics poison their minds about ECOMIC. The Victims Center condemns police brutality, unlawful detention of protesters. EFSTH queried for not terminating staff, auditors said must be sacked. Just like the Standard newspaper, the lead story on the Fourier newspaper reads, President Barrow to address nation on Janneh Commission following emergency cabinet meeting. Let's take a look at the final newspaper for today, and that is the Point newspaper. Just like the previous two newspapers, the Point's lead story also talks about Barrow addressing the nation, and it reads, Barrow to address nation today. It is expected that Barrow will provide more information about the sale of former President Yahya Jammeh's assets. This comes following a youth-led protest calling for transparency and accountability in the sale of assets linked to former President Jammeh. GAF top brass on zero tolerance to partisan politics, reckless driving. PSSG urges media to exercise responsibility. Gambian embassy showcases inherent tradition at Passport DC. Sovereign military order of Malta opens embassy in Banjul. And the final story for today reads, UDP condemns Minister Sabali's arrest threat against Mayor Low Esafal. And these are the major stories making headlines on Gambian dailies.
Sankule Janko there with the press review from the Gambia.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview segment this afternoon takes us back to Mali, where the military transitional government has officially dissolved all political parties and organizations of a political nature across the country. The decree follows General Assimi Goita's promulgation of laws repealing the Charter of Political Parties and the status of the opposition. Our guest is Hadi Yakubu, a human rights activist who speaks about the situation.
Well, there is political contestation. For me, that is one of the things that need to be underscored, that this has not come without any political contestation, and that space itself is being contested. For example, if we have the issue of transitions and military rule, and getting back to civilian rule and elections and democracy. First of all, we must make the point that democracy is not only about election. It's about all the things that we talk about: transparency, accountability, respect for human rights, and whatnot. The worry in a clampdown is always that it has the potential to expand to other sectors of the society. And that is a recipe that can lead to something that we all do not want. And essentially, it means that the transition is set to prolong its time and all of that.
What would you also think about the government's plan to develop a new law that will now govern the creation of political parties after dissolving these political parties?
Okay. So I think the context of it needs to be transparent, and it needs to be out there for people to be able to appreciate. And once we have the full content and the full context, we can be able to make fuller comments. But in a preliminary understanding of it, I think it's something that needs to be put to the test of transparency and accountability. And we need to be able to fully digest the content of this new law that is coming out from the transitional government. And as I said, I continue to emphasize that there's a need for dialogue. There's too much adversary. There's too much adversarial politics, be it in the politics led by the military or the civilians. We do not need this. We need to make sure that even where there's contestation and where there's disagreement, we as African people must be able to agree and disagree in ways that build the community rather than tear it apart. Because we're building something that can stand the test of time. We are facing, as an African people, multifaceted threats across the entire spectrum of issues, including political, economic, environmental even, which is probably the biggest issue that we're facing right now.
Do you see a multi-party democracy returning to Mali anytime soon with regards to these decisions by the transitional government, sir?
I think not, but it's basically something that we have to keep to engage on and to observe and to show solidarity where it is needed and to make denunciation where it is needed.
Hadi Yakubu is a human rights activist in the Mali. And here comes Sankule Janko with the latest in the sporting world.
In sports, a major legal showdown is unfolding in Cameroon football as former national team captain Jeremy Jitab takes on the president of the country's football federation, Samuel Eto'o, former teammates. Jitab, who earned 119 caps for the Indomitable Lions and now leads the National Union of Cameroonian Footballers known as Sinafog, has announced he is launching legal action against Fecafoot, the very federation Eto'o now leads. At the heart of the dispute is a controversial decision made by Fecafoot in November 2024, removing Sinafog's 2 seats from the federation's General Assembly. Sinafog called the move unjustifiable and claims Fecafoot invented a non-existent process called withdrawal of approval to push the union out. Sinafog initially appealed the decision to Fecafoot's internal commission, but no ruling came by April 1, 2025. This delay prompted the union to escalate the matter to the Chamber of Conciliation and Arbitration under the Cameroon Olympic Committee. However, a ruling issued late May 13 went against Sinafog. The union called the verdict unjust and unexpected and immediately announced plans to take the case to the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS, in Lausanne, Switzerland. And Nigerian striker Tolu Arokodare has just claimed one of Belgian football top's honors, the Ebony Shoe Award, given to the best player of African heritage in the Jupiter Pro League. The 24-year-old forward received the award Monday night at the African Awards 2025 held at the Tangala Hotel in Brussels. Arokodare beat off stiff competition, including fellow Nigerian Rafael Onyedika of Club Brugge, Noah Sadiki of DR Congo, promised David of Canada, and his Genk teammate Zakaria El-Wadi of Morocco. With this win, Arokodare becomes the 6th Nigerian and the 34th player overall to lift the prestigious Ebony Shoe. And that's it for sports.
With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Umu Danyogo for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our flagship gender program 50-50 with Nadidititi. At 1 p.m., Alpha Abubakar will be here with the news in French, which is M for Chevu. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana.